I've had my Toyota Tundra now for 2 months and about 1,500 miles. There's 100 reasons I love this truck, but today what I want to do is share my top 10 list of things that I hate about my Tundra. First thing that I don't like about my Tundra is the volume control. The volume controls on this vehicle are designed for a toddler. There's no way a full-size adult is expected to control these. You have to use your fingers with little tiny pinchers. The volume controls on the steering wheel are little microscopic chiclets that are designed for insect hands. But these are the size of the fingertip of your small finger. Next up is the pin screen, the dreaded pin screen. The pin screen, the motherfucking pin screen. Why is the pin screen on again? I use Android Auto, and so maybe it's related to Android Auto. Pin screen comes up constantly. While you are driving and navigating and trying to get somewhere and need your map up, a big splash screen will come up on the display and cover up everything on the screen. It asks you for your PIN while you're driving, mind you. Like, you're supposed to enter that while you're driving. The worst thing about it is, yes, it's unsafe, but even worse, it doesn't do anything. For the first 20 or 30 times it happened, all I did is hit the X button and the PIN screen went away, and the truck kept operating as it was previously. So it didn't offer any benefit. When I finally figured out the PIN, I put it in and it went away. That was great. I was finally relieved that I would never see that PIN screen again, but I was wrong. The PIN screen keeps coming back. I enter the PIN, I know the PIN now, and it keeps coming up. I can't make it stop. Whether I put it in or don't put it in, it will just keep coming back and asking for my PIN while I am driving. This PIN screen feels like I'm pressing the button on Lost.
Do you remember what it is? 4, 8.
Wait a minute.
15. 16.
Dude, I'm serious. Stop.
Hugo, this is not the time to play.
Now I think it is.
23.
What is this thing? You didn't even know what it does. I mean...
All right, next up is windshield wipers. Yep, windshield wipers. I mean, how hard would it have been to put automatic windshield wipers in this truck? I've had vehicles that have cost less than half this amount that have automatic windshield wipers. This is a technology that, honestly, when I spend over $60,000 in a vehicle, I don't think that I have to check to make sure that it has automatic windshield wipers. I don't know why Toyota went cheap on this. Did it save a lot of money? I doubt it. I think it's one of those things that sometimes car companies do to try to boost you up to the higher option packages. They intentionally hold back just obvious normal features that you have in a vehicle to push you forward to get the higher cost package, the one with the sunroof and the premium sound system. And automatic windshield wipers should be a standard feature. I won't apologize. I won't back off on that. Yes, I could have paid more, but they should be standard. Next up is wireless charging. And a little bit like the windshield wipers, wireless charging is one of those things that is so cheap to put into a vehicle. I mean, I can buy a 2-pack of wireless chargers on Amazon for my desktop for about 20 bucks. And I'm guessing on a per unit basis to put a wireless charger in this vehicle, the cost to Toyota is probably under $5. I mean, way below that, I'm sure. And so they take it out of the vehicle to make it feel like a cheap vehicle if you don't upgrade to the premium package. And that's just annoying. Next up on this vehicle is the dash cam. The dash cam on this vehicle creates its own Wi-Fi network. That sounds great because that's how your phone can connect to it to download videos and so forth and to control it. The problem is that the truck also has its own Wi-Fi signal, so they compete with each other. They don't work on the same Wi-Fi signal. And so when you're trying to set up your dash cam, the truck is trying to override your connection. And it's very successful in doing it. In fact, the Toyota app is extremely aggressive in overriding the dash cam Wi-Fi. The only way to get connected to the dash cam Wi-Fi is to delete your Toyota app. You have to delete your Toyota app from your phone and make it so it can't connect to your phone to get connected to the dash cam. I mean, why couldn't an engineer have put both the dash cam and the Toyota app on the same Wi-Fi signal. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it does to anybody else. Next up has to be the famous Toyota seatbelt chime. Toyota is notoriously aggressive with the seatbelt chime. I understand why Toyota does it. This helps them get better safety ratings. If they really aggressively tell their customers to put on a seatbelt, they're going to get into accidents occasionally, but when they do get into accidents, they'll probably have their seatbelt on, and that's great. But I think there's a way to make it that it isn't quite so aggressive, so that it turns on and reminds you when you're actually moving, when you're creeping across a parking lot. It doesn't necessarily need to have the most aggressive, loud, and frankly irritating chime on the planet. The next thing has to be the system that turns off the engine when you get to a stoplight. Sometimes when you get to a stoplight, you put your foot down on the brake and are stopped, the engine will turn off. This saves gas, and I know not everybody loves those systems. I actually like them because it saves me a little bit of gas, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the two things I don't like are, one, you have to put your foot down really, really hard to make that go into effect. And I find it's probably too hard to be useful. The second thing is when I go to the effort of pushing down my foot that hard to turn the engine off, it often doesn't really want to respond. It'll turn off for a few seconds and then come right back on immediately. And with some cars in the past that I've had, maybe if the temperature outside was really hot and I was running the air conditioner, the car wanted to turn back on to keep the power going to the compressor for the air conditioning. But that's not the case here. This, for some reason, just doesn't seem to want to stay off, even if my foot is down really hard. Okay, the next one on my list is just the size of the gas tank. This is about a 20-gallon gas tank. I've had vehicles that are much smaller than this with that size of a gas tank, or even larger. For a vehicle this size, yes, it uses a lot of gas. I definitely would have thought that the fuel tank for a vehicle of this size would have been larger. You are going to be fueling up all the time. Now, again, like some of my other complaints, I could have upgraded to a larger fuel tank. Some of you will probably note that in the comments below. So my bad. I should have made that choice. But again, it's kind of one of those things, like if you're going to make a vehicle, make it practical so you have a little bit of range in it. I didn't check that when I purchased the vehicle. I thought the standard size fuel tank was going to be enough, and I didn't check the capacity. My mistake. But having a 20-gallon fuel tank just doesn't seem adequate for a vehicle this size. The good news, though, is if you do get the smaller fuel tank, your fuel ups will be a lot less expensive. Next up is parking sensors. How does a vehicle this large and at this price point not include parking sensors? This truck is huge. Sometimes it's difficult to park. Maybe the smart thing to do would have been to include parking sensors as a standard feature. And maybe, just stay with me here, the smart thing to do would have been to check that there are parking sensors in the truck before you bought the truck, John. Regardless, this is just another thing that Toyota is doing, where they use low-cost tech that they can include in a vehicle, but they choose to withhold it to punish us for not buying the upgrade pack. I mean, come on, Toyota, stop being so cheap. Make a vehicle that makes sense. Parking sensors make sense in a truck. Okay, and then the number one thing that bugs me about my Toyota is when I turn it on, a screen comes up on the dashboard trying to advertise a subscription service to me called Drive Connect. And it comes on every time, no matter what. I think there's probably some boomer marketing executive in Plano, Texas at Toyota's US headquarters that thinks subscription services to a mapping solution is the future of Toyota. Here's a newsflash. You can get those for free from Google or Apple. We don't need another mapping solution that's a paid solution. I don't like having to manually X out of that screen to get back to where I want to be. I am always driving in my truck with Google Maps running and with Spotify running. Those are the two apps I use 100% of the time. I don't need to get back into my truck and X out of that screen. It should automatically default to the last screen I was on. It should not automatically default to their advertisement. Toyota, make it stop, please. Give us an update to fix this. So how'd you like my review? Did I get it right? If you own a Tundra and have some ideas for me on how to fix some of the problems I'm having, put it in the comments below. I'd love to be corrected. For anybody else, if this video helped you, appreciate any comments, likes, or subscribes. Take care.